By the way, I'm a big fan of electric cars. They're very expensive and they can all be made in China. They don't work in the cold and they don't go far. Other than that, I think they're wonderful. What do you think of an electric car?
Have you ever wondered why electric vehicles became a point of political contention in the United States? After all, they're just another type of car, and in a car-dependent society like America, people might just see them as a cheaper, more practical, more environmentally conscious solution to their daily commute. But not all your political leaders see it as such. Trump and some of his constituents have made EVs like their biggest op for seemingly no reason. If you're interested in this topic, or you're like me, a car enthusiast and EV owner, stick around for a few minutes and we'll dive into why Trump is waging war on the American EV industry. History of EVs in the US. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, electric vehicles were popular in America. Favored for their quiet, clean, and easy to operate nature, they made up over 1/3 of all vehicles on American roads by the year 1900. However, mass production revolutionized the auto industry and brought down the price of gasoline-powered vehicles like the Ford Model T massively. Quickly, they outpaced electric vehicles in sales and public adoption. For decades after that, EVs remained largely dormant, and it would be pretty rare to see one in person, until the late 90s and early 2000s, where renewed enthusiasm and environmental concerns sparked growth in the United States. American manufacturers experimented with early EVs and plug-in hybrids like GM's EV1 and Chevy's Volt. Eventually, Tesla's introduction of the Roadster in 2008 and mass production of other models just a few years later significantly accelerated interest and investment in electric vehicles, taking them from a novel technology to something fun and practical for the everyday American. This, coupled with increased public understanding of urban air pollution, created an environment for a new US industry to thrive. Adding in the federal tax incentives and emission reduction standards established prior to 2016, the American EV industry was positioned for rapid growth, until political shifts and policy changes started to negatively affect its trajectory. So why did we stunt an entire sector of the automotive industry that could have positioned us for its global market domination? How EVs became political. In the mid to late 2010s, EVs became a symbol for liberalism and progressive ideology, some propping them up as the solution to the climate crisis, others calling them the newest luxury fad for rich liberals. Both sides of the political spectrum played a part in making these inanimate objects a symbol for one's political beliefs, and this is where we started to go wrong. Electric vehicles became hopelessly entangled in America's culture war, shifting from mere transportation tools into symbols loaded with political meaning. For many conservatives, EVs have been portrayed as emblems of liberalism associated with urban dwellers, climate activists, and progressive policy fans. This narrative has often been amplified by conservative media outlets and political figures who frame electric cars as expensive, impractical, and evidence of government overreach.
Crooked Joe's ridiculous electric vehicle mandate. But these cars don't go very far. And they're very expensive. And what we're going to do is you're going to have an electric vehicle if you want it. And it's good for short trips, like to the candy store and back.
Conversely, Democrats have largely embraced EVs as a part of the solution to the climate crisis and air pollution, emphasizing their role in achieving sustainability goals and reducing dependence on big oil. This polarization has significantly impacted policy debates and infrastructure investments. While other first world countries have moved forward with bipartisan support for EV infrastructure, the political divide in the US has slowed progress and created legislative hurdles, making the issue more about political identity than transportation efficiency or environmental benefit. And I will not be getting into the argument on the environmental benefit of EVs in this video, frankly, because there isn't one. While there are valid concerns for the local environmental impact and ethics of cobalt mining overseas, the broad scientific consensus shows that EVs simply are better for the environment, even if they are being charged using electricity from a fossil fuel source. If you find yourself believing these big oil-sponsored myths about electric vehicles, check the description for my sources and some educational resources where you can learn more. Who benefits from the EV industry? These EV jobs are in three main areas: battery mining, vehicle manufacturing, and charging infrastructure construction and maintenance. According to an analysis by Princeton University, the bills that Trump and House Republicans are currently passing as of May 2025 would result in job losses of 130,000 potential jobs in the growing EV industry and over 20,000 current real jobs that people are working today. And note, this is only talking about the EV sector. This is not talking about green energy as a whole. HR 1 would be catastrophic for renewable energy, but that's for its own video. The states facing highest risk for job loss from Trump's tirade against the electric vehicle industry include Michigan, Texas, Nevada, California, Kentucky, Georgia, Ohio, and Indiana, all of which, except for California, overwhelmingly supported Trump in this last election. In recent years, the EV industry has created over 188,000 American jobs, and according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 32% of manufacturing facilities are in economically disadvantaged rural areas. These facilities provide stable, union jobs for blue-collar workers in areas that have seen economic downturn and areas that largely supported Trump. So why is he passing legislation that will directly harm them? Trump's views on EVs. It's no secret that Trump is an unpredictable leader. Both supporters and opponents of Trump would cite this as a key reason for their feelings on him. But one of the surprising areas he's taken a hard stance against is the American EV industry.
Everybody's going to be forced to buy an electric car. Ridiculous. Well, sir, that'll be about 6 stops. Short trips. But these cars don't go very far. And they're very expensive. They travel short distances. They don't work in the cold and they don't go far. And you're not going to be able to sell those cars.
Not only are a lot of these claims petty, but they're outright false. He frequently cites short trips, but I have a 300-mile range. I can go to any other city in Texas. I can go on a multi-hour road trip and not have to stop to charge. He says they don't work in the cold, but I did all of my winter commuting just fine, even through snow, and I even took a road trip to Austin in 29-degree weather with a headwind, all without any problem. Granted, I had to stop to charge once, but okay, I had to pee also. Why are we acting like this is like an ancient technology here? Well, these jabs are petty and ill-informed. Even worse than that, he's actually making policy that would hurt me as an EV owner and potentially take away tens of thousands of blue-collar American jobs. It really seems like he just saw that one clip on The Simpsons and took it as gospel.
The electric car of the future, sponsored by the gasoline producers of America.
I'm an electric car. I can't go very fast or very far. And if you drive me, people will think you're gay.
One of us.
Besides his very public team-up with Elon Musk, Trump's stance on electric vehicles has been consistently negative. He cites electric vehicle mandates that didn't exist. The only thing the Biden administration implemented was a non-binding goal for 50% of all new vehicle sales to be electric by the year 2030.
Everybody's going to be forced to buy an electric car, which they're not going to do because they don't want that. But they want everybody to have an electric car. We don't have enough electricity. We couldn't make enough electricity for that.
There was never a ban on gas cars. There was never a mandate to go all electric. That's just false. Trump's right-hand man, Elon Musk, is single-handedly responsible for popularizing EVs in America and bringing them to the mainstream. Yet right now, he's passing legislation that would gut the industry. How Trump is hurting EV adoption. Trump's legislative and executive actions have significantly impacted the American EV industry. His administration's policies have introduced new financial burdens specifically for EV owners, reduced tax incentives for manufacturers, and pulled back federal support for charging infrastructure, which creates uncertainty that will hinder the market. Most things I'm talking about right now are policies that are in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which is Trump's magnum opus of policy. Not only would it radically reshape the amount of control the executive branch has over the judicial and states' rights, but there's a lot of policy in it that would absolutely destroy the EV industry. So starting off simple, the Trump administration will implement a $250 fee on every electric vehicle every year for registration. Now, they say that this is supposed to make up for the lost gas tax that you're not paying when you fill up at the gas station. But according to an analysis on Motor Trend, this would be equivalent to 1,359 gallons of gas. Now, I don't know if you know how much gas your car burns, but the Subaru that I had before my current EV had a 12-gallon gas tank, and I filled up maybe once per week. So that 1,359 gallons, that's equivalent to 113 fill-ups, which that's like 2 years of gas for me. Asking me to pay tax on that while simultaneously taking away the charging infrastructure that you're complaining about being too expensive? Make it make sense. Somebody, and this is on top of a $200 annual fee that Texas already has for EVs. So I would potentially be paying $450 extra annually for the great sin of driving an electric vehicle while they're simultaneously gutting the infrastructure. Come on, guys, what are we doing? And that $200 Texas fee is compared to a $51 fee that gas-powered cars have to pay. And all of that on top of the regular costs for ownership in an American city. Cars are really expensive. Like, I bought an electric vehicle to save money, not have to hand it directly over to the government. So this legislation would massively disincentivize EV ownership and punish current owners. This bill would also take away the rights of states to set their own vehicle emission standards. And I thought Trump was for small government and states' rights. Interesting. In addition to the overtly targeted fees on EV owners, this bill would absolutely gut the tax incentives for manufacturers and buyers of electric vehicles. Tax codes 30D, 25E, 30C, and 45W would all be eliminated this year. These include the $7,500 tax credits on EV purchases that was supposed to go through 2028, tax incentives for public charging stations, and used EV tax credits. If you disincentivize the purchase or ownership of these vehicles, the market is definitely going to be impacted, and you're jeopardizing American jobs for no reason. Beyond legislation, Trump's administration has taken executive actions to further challenge the EV sector. For instance, funding for the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, which supports the development of EV charging stations, has been completely frozen. This move dampens the expansion of essential infrastructure needed to support the growing number of EVs on the road. This administration's stance has created an environment of uncertainty, causing some manufacturers to pause or cancel planned investments in EV production facilities.
But why should I care? I drive a diesel pickup and I don't want my tax money going to some liberal sissy electric fagmobile.
Well, thinking like this is a fundamental misunderstanding of the relationship between the government and big businesses. Critics often claim that electric vehicles are unfairly propped up by federal tax incentives, but what they ignore is that gas-powered cars have benefited from massive government support for over a century. From billions of dollars in annual tax breaks and subsidies for oil companies to massive public investments in fueling infrastructure, the fossil fuel industry has long been quietly supported by federal dollars. Even national defense spending that protects global oil supply routes can be seen as an indirect subsidy to gasoline. For example, studies have shown that the real fair market cost of a gallon of gasoline would be between $12.75 and $15 per gallon without the government subsidizing it. So, to recap, EV tax credits don't give electric cars an unfair advantage, they just level the playing field in a market that's been tilted towards gas cars for generations. It's hard to pinpoint where exactly in recent history a mere mode of transportation became a political punching bag, but where we are right now isn't great. EV owners like myself are looking at unfair, massive federal fees and a loss of charging infrastructure, and workers in the electric vehicle sector are looking at complete job loss. I got an electric vehicle to feel better about my carbon footprint and waste less money, but I guess Trump had other plans. In effect, what all this is doing is hurting EV owners, taking away American jobs, and taking the US out of the race for the future of personal transportation, all so they can appease a couple big oil billionaires and an outdated political ideology. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, consider subscribing because I'm going to be producing more video essay style content like this. I've been making content on TikTok for a few years now. You can follow me there if you'd like, but here I like talking about problems that I find important because my friends are tired of hearing me talk about this shit at the bar. Nobody wants to hear about tax codes when they're sipping a marg. So if you guys like this type of content, consider subscribing. But until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.